Item number 9 is a resolution to amend the U.S. Constitution. It is been presented by Mr. Friedman. And do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
Chairman, I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Chairman, may I comment?
Yes, sir.
I understand. Okay. Fellow commissioners and ladies and gentlemen, I have seriously considered this resolution since I heard Mr. Friedman talk about it here a month or so ago at another board meeting. You had a hard time hearing it. I'll try to speak up. This resolution came about as a result of the U.S. Supreme Court case known as Citizens United versus, I can't remember. But anyway, what that case did that was most unusual, it basically said that money can have a voice, that money is speech. That's essentially what it ruled. It also ruled that corporations are people. Corporations are people. I don't agree with either of those propositions, and I know a lot of other people in the United States don't either. But I support this resolution for far more reasons than just that. I'm retired on a state pension. I have a little other income, a little rental income, a few things like that. Don't amount to a whole lot. But before I say $1, I have given the federal government in the state of North Carolina 32 cents out of that dollar. 25% of the federal government, approximately 7 cents, 6.5 cents, 6.75 cents, I think it is, to the state. General Electric, if you just follow the news a little bit, you realize is making billions of dollars annually in profits. They have not paid one dime federal tax in over 10 years. They're making billions, they're paying no tax. I'm making a few thousand and paying 32% of it. And I imagine there are many of you in that category as well, I would guess. Because my retirement income is not all that great. It's just absurd to me that we allow, I saw in the news this weekend, one of the large groups that help finance political candidates raised $60 million. No accountability. Nobody knows where it came from, and nobody knows for sure where it's going. Whether it went to a Democrat or to a Republican. It doesn't really make any difference. The truth of it is we don't know. Somebody is buying influence and we don't know who it is. That's the thing that makes the difference to me.
Exactly.
We've often heard that we've got the best government that money can buy. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that's true. There are far too many congressmen and senators in Washington who are without question in the pockets of special interest and large corporations, special interest including large corporations. You could look at the votes. You could look at the votes and you could tell. I don't think this is a Democrat-Republican issue. I do not. I think it's an issue that affects every one of us who believe in good representative democracy. Chairman, I support this resolution.
I have a motion and a second to support this resolution. Any further discussion? I have a comment to make.
I prepared a little statement, and
from the response of the audience, I guess a lot of people disagree with me on this, but we have before us today a proposal for a resolution calling for an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. This amendment would single out corporations, quote, corporations for exclusion from the electoral process. This amendment, as proposed, would not address the equal or even more egregious actions of other groups in said electoral process. Corporations are no more people than labor unions, the AARP, the Canary Coalition, or any other lobbying group, but they are not included in this proposal. Why? For what purpose? Unless the proponents of this amendment can answer these questions truthfully, their claim of nonpartisanship is difficult for me to believe. Personally, I find the union practice of forcefully taking money from workers for the express purpose of political activity without input or option from those workers to be a much more undemocratic activity. Somehow that does not appear to be a problem for the proponents of this amendment. I will not be a party to the sanctioning of any legislation which calls for the discrimination of any group of people. I find it despicable that more and more people think this is normal and acceptable in our society.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, can I just take one comment? Just one comment?
Yes, sir.
If I saw a resolution come to this group next month condemning large sums of money taken from workers in a mandatory sense that might go, or does go, to political parties, I will support that resolution just exactly as I supported this one.
I don't think we'll see that.
All right, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. No more discussion. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cowan.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Elders.
With the information I see right now, the way I understand it, the vote is no.
Commissioner Cody.
No.
Chairman Debnam.
No. Thank you. Thank you for putting the item on the agenda, although it did not come out in the vote the way I had hoped it would have. Address Commissioner Cody's concern. In fact, the amendment does address labor unions and all other groups and would prohibit any group from secretly making campaign contributions. The Canary Coalition could never make contributions to any political campaign as a nonprofit. 2 weeks ago, at your last meeting, I informed you that this rapidly growing young movement had already produced resolutions, ordinances, or citizen initiative referendums passed in 133 municipalities or counties, plus 3 states. Since then, the number has grown to 146, plus another 57 that have been introduced and are in progress. Since your last meeting, the state of Minnesota has joined Washington State, Wisconsin, and Alaska as states in which the resolution has been introduced into their general assemblies. If passed, which is almost certain, these states will join Hawaii, New Mexico, Vermont, and states that have already petitioned Congress for a constitutional amendment to end corporate personhood. 4 hours after your last meeting, locally, the town board of Bryson City joined Franklin City and Highlands in passing the resolution. Since your last meeting just last week, the Attorneys General of 22 states announced they are joining with the Attorney General of the state of Montana in calling for the Supreme Court to reverse the Citizens United decision that bestowed upon corporations the rights of human beings and prohibited the regulation of corporate political campaign contributions. Also last week, nonpartisan North Carolina Policy Watch released the results of a statewide poll in North Carolina in which 82% of those polled said the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision was bad for our state. Also last week, Senator John McCain joined forces with those calling for the Supreme Court to reverse the Citizens United decision. You may recall that Senator McCain, a Republican, was a primary architect and sponsor of the bipartisan campaign reform Reform Act of 2002, otherwise known as the McCain-Feingold Act, a bill that was signed into law by Republican President George W. Bush. This was the law that was thrown out by the Supreme Court in Citizens United decision in 2010. I'm including this information to emphasize once again that this is truly a nonpartisan issue and a movement that needs the support of all local and state governments, including ours in Jackson County. Corporations have many useful purposes in our country, but one of them is not the controlling and manipulation of our electoral process. Once again, I call on the Jackson County Commission to join in this movement to bring back government of by and for the people by putting this resolution and passing it. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't have any comments prepared at all. I'm really disappointed. I recall that last week when Mr. Friedman spoke, he spoke directly to you, Mr. Kirby, saying to you that he hoped that you were concerned about the labor unions, that you would put that into the resolution. And I know that it wasn't added before you decided to discuss it. I'm here to say just one thing. I hope that we can sit down and talk around a table, maybe not in here, and come to some discussion rather than it being sort of preordained. It was put on the agenda without our knowledge, and we're delighted. We thank you for that. But let's don't close this off now. The offer to which you expressed a disagreement, Mr. Cody, was placed before you last week, and it was not taken up. So I don't understand that at all. But we appreciate being on the agenda, and we'll see you later, I guess.
Geraldine Collins.
Thank you for your moments. Thank you for all being here. I'm very disappointed, of course, that this resolution has not been accepted by Jackson County here, since surrounding towns have had the wisdom and the sense to do it. I am part of the 99%. You are part of the 99%. And we are not against the rich. And we are not against using wealth to gain unfair advantage. We are not against corporations, but what we are against are corporations governing us, and that's what this is about. We are not against capitalism, but we are against corruption in capitalism. We're not against the banks. However, we are against fraudulent banking practices. We are not against investment markets, which have helped this county. But we are against legalized fraud in the markets. And the last thing I'd like to say is that we are not against democracy, but we are against the sale of influence by our elected representatives. And I'm part of the 99%. Thank you.
James Noah.
Mr. Debnam, you are one on this board with whom I am personally acquainted briefly. Thank you for taking the time to introduce yourself to me and for your interest in my work. Ladies and gentlemen, and friends, I moved to Western North Carolina in 1998 because most people here are also interested in what works. It is not easy to make a living in these mountains, so most here do not enthusiastically support economic, political, or social experiment. Mr. Debnam, you yourself took the time to watch me run an engine-powered generator using wood instead of gasoline, so I know you are interested in what works. But today I will not discuss I will discuss what does not work. Those who buy iron pyrite because they are told it looks like gold end up being known as fools. And just because some say corporations look like people does not mean it is true. The people I know in Western North Carolina do not have the time or resources to play with the illusions of corporate personhood. They also do not buy the idea that money equals speech because they well understand that no money will then equal no speech, and most here have already had enough of no speech. No one I know here bought those Wall Street real estate investment packages either. I think they were called swamp derivatives. On October 23rd, 2008, Mr. Alan Greenspan, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, was asked by the U.S. Congress if his economic ideology and policies worked or not. Mr. Greenspan affirmed that they were, I quote, absolutely, precisely, unquote, wrong. The people of North Carolina have a proud history of working hard and rejecting illusions. They were well acquainted with reality long before it showed up on TV. They put two important dates on their state flag. After the American Revolution, Battle of Lexington, the North Carolina colonialists had their say. On May 20th, 1775, the Mecklenburg Resolves indicated that this colony was the first to publicly favor independence from the British Crown and from being intimidated by foreign corporations. On April 12, 1776, the Halifax Resolves were the first to explicitly instruct, and I quote, that the delegates for this colony were in the Continental Congress be empowered to concur with the delegates of other colonies in declaring independency. North Carolina was first. To everyone here and the commissioners, let me clearly and logically state that corporations are dependent on people. Without people, corporations would not exist. Let's keep people independent from corporations. Let's not allow selling of some more fool's gold here. Pass this resolution to show we favor the living and what works. Thank you.
My question is for Doug, Charles, and Jack. Did any of the information Avram or the subsequent speakers present change how you would have voted?
I'll go first. The resolution as presented to us did not mention, contrary to what Mr. Friedman said about labor unions being addressed in this resolution, was not included in this. I failed to mention on my comment that my last sentence was, I left it out, but an amendment to ban all lobbyists and PACs. In parentheses, I put lobbyists and PACs are not mentioned in the Constitution, would be desirable. So, you know, if someone will come back with a resolution, this is not what they asked us to vote on. What I spoke of right there was not what they asked us to vote on. If they'll come back with a resolution that asks for banning of all PACs and lobbyists, I'll sign it. I'll agree to it. But they're wanting to single out one particular segment of our economy for some reason. And I'm not going to be a part of that.
So if we modified the wording to include PACs and...
Eliminate all lobbyists and all PACs.
Occupy, this is a national movement, and this is Occupy. I don't believe there's communication.
If you remember the little statement I made before I voted, not having enough information, Doug has just answered the questions that I think, well, he says in his mind, that was in my mind also. And the labor union was a big part of my decision to say no. But yes, if we'd had a work study on this and this had been better prepared, I think we could have understood this better. But Yeah, so far my
I'm
vote's
sure
still
that
no,
they
but
can, and
I'm
I
answering
did
his
rock the
question.
fight. I'm sure that they can make it much clearer to you.
I'm trying to answer
And
his
we'll
question.
try to do that.
With that,
Jack?
Given the information that I was given, I voted the way I felt I should have voted.
So if they came forward with a new resolution in the
I've got
future,
tired of being browbeat. Is exactly what it was, and I was gonna take action on what I had before. So if they're not ready, I'm sorry.
You're not ready.
I'm ready.
Really?
And I want to make a comment.
Wait a minute.
I'm a part of the 100%.
All right.
Let's, excuse me. Excuse me. Any more questions from the press?
so it won't be on a future agenda?
I don't know. I didn't have any information about how many people had voted it down. Any other questions from the press? If not, we have a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second?
All in favor? I've got tired of being browbeat.